Okay, before we jump into today's show, I have something really important that I want to talk to you about. I'm working on a really kind of a top secret project, something that I'm really passionate about that I think is going to help a lot of people. And I wanted to see if I could get your help. Now, I'm not going to talk about exactly what this project is, but let's just say it's specifically designed for people who do not yet have a real estate business. They want to be in real estate. They love the idea of starting a wholesaling or a flipping or a buy and hold kind of a business. They've been listening to my podcasts or other podcasts, and they really want to get started, but there's something holding them back. There's something that's keeping them from doing it. It could be their own self-doubt. It could be friends and family telling them they're crazy. It could be as simple as they just don't have a plan. They don't know where to start. They don't even know what to do first. Like, how do I start this journey? I want to help with that. And by you reaching out to me and telling me that's who you are, that you're that person who wants a real estate investing company, whether it be a side hustle or you want to do this full time, you want it to be your main thing. Either way, if you haven't gotten started and something's holding you back, I don't care what it is. Could be, like I said, you, could be your family, could be your spouse, could be just lack of knowledge. Like you just don't know what to do first. You don't know how to start, or maybe you don't even know what it is you want to do in real estate. You don't know if you want to flip. You don't know if you want to be a wholesaler. You don't know if you want to buy rentals. If you fall into any of those categories and you want my help with it, I am offering that to you right now. All you have to do is go to mike@juststartrealestate.com and put in the subject line help, and I will reach out to you. I don't care if you've never done anything before. If you're completely green and you don't have a clue as to where to get started, that's the person that I'm looking for. And maybe you do know what you want to do. Maybe you know exactly what you want to do in real estate, but still something's holding you back. You have some fear or something. I want to help you get unstuck. So please take advantage of this opportunity. Reach out to me, email me at mike@juststartrealestate.com, subject line help, and I will get right back to you. We'll set up a time, we'll hop on a call, and we'll chat. I want to help you get unstuck so you can move forward and realize your dream of having a real estate investing company. So reach out to me, use that email address, subject line help. I can't wait to hear from you. All right, guys, let's dive into the show.
You're not going to know everything. You surround yourself with some people that are smarter than you, and they answer your questions, and then you can sort of feed the end result to, your end buyer or us.
You're listening to the Just Start Real Estate Podcast. If you're serious about your real estate investing business and need real answers, you are in the right place. And now, your host, Mike Simmons.
Hey guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me on the show. I appreciate it. You're in for another good one. I have a guest on the show that I know personally. He's a good guy. I think he's going to be someone everyone really resonates with. But listen, if you're new to the show, I want to say thank you for being here, first of all. If you have been to this podcast, listened to it, enjoyed it in the past, and you're back for more, thank you as well. I really appreciate it. Guys, if I could ask you to do me a quick favor, if there's anything you can do for me to show that you appreciate the show, go and give it a rating or review in iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to the show. Go and give me a rating and review. I would really appreciate it. It makes a difference and it helps the wheels go round. All right, guys, let's get to it. Today, I've got somebody on the show. His name is Bentley Pugh. He's a friend of mine, someone that I met a few years ago. He's in the seven-figure flipping mastermind, which is a mastermind I've talked about on the show before. It's just an incredible group of investors who really support each other. We share ideas. We share what's working, what's not working. We hold each other accountable. We meet up a few times a year to kind of spend time in person when that was a thing you could do. We've been doing it virtually now for a while, but just a great thing. And this is a great example of someone who joined the group. He already had some things going and some successes, and he joined to fill in some of the gaps of things that he didn't know. And this is his journey kind of from that point. So He started, though, real estate got into his blood in high school as a senior. He had a project he had to do regarding real estate, and it sort of started the wheels turning for him. He started a landscaping company after high school, and in 2006 sold his landscaping company and became an agent. And he was kind of more interested in the commercial aspect of real estate. Since then, he's evolved from a real estate broker to managing his own family-owned real estate investing firm, Beachworks LLC. He wears a ton of hats. He's primarily responsible for business development, managing new construction listings, and overseeing the developments and acquisitions of his company. He's a smart guy. He's a great guy. I've watched his business evolve and grow over the last few years, and I really wanted to bring him on to give you that perspective. So guys, without any further ado, I give you Bentley Pugh. All right, Bentley, thanks for being on the show, man. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate your time. It's really cool to do this. We don't get a chance to talk one-on-one like this a ton, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me and the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, listen, I know you a lot better than people listening probably know you, so let's dial back a little bit. Talk about what you did before real estate, how you got into real estate, and kind of what that process looked like back before you became the guy that you are today.
I went to high school, went to college, studied business and marketing, started a landscape company when I was in college, just to, work, get extra side money.
Yeah.
And then essentially I realized, I'm like, man, this is going to wear on my body. I don't want to be out in the weather. And then, I just thought with the same amount of effort that I was, just going for it or giving 110% in this landscaping business, I could, make a lot more money in real estate,
Yeah.
And, even back before that, I had a high school, senior project where my dad's like, maybe you should get into real estate because we had a family business. And I was like, it was sort of corporate. And I'm like, I have no desire to have wear pointy shoes and a collared shirt and whatever. I just want to, work hard and put deals together.
Yeah. What was the project? What was the senior project?
It was, like a career. What do you want to do? What would you might potentially want to do in the future?
Gotcha.
And, at that age, and even in college, you're just like, I don't know. And you're taking all these classes. And so I went around and I interviewed, residential brokers, commercial brokers, leasing, apartment guys, whatnot. And actually what I decided from that, or what I took from that is I wanted to sort of, start at the bottom, which is not the bottom in a bad way, but just sort of the ground level, which is the residential, and then sort of work my way into whatever direction I was going into.
Gotcha. You mentioned your dad had a business. What was it exactly? What was his business? It's not even a real estate business. It was a healthcare emergency room billing company. Okay.
And so he's just a business guy, and he knows my personality and my strengths and weaknesses, and he's just like, you could go out and do this, and I think you would be good at it. And there's obviously a creative side to real estate too, which is fun, and it's never the same.
Yeah,
it's never the same thing.
Yeah, totally. So that landscaping business that you started, was it? How did that process go? Was it successful? Was it like something that you could have kept doing, or like what was the success of that business, and what did you learn maybe in that first venture that you carry still forward?
It could have been successful. It's always hard work when you're setting anything up, or you dive into it and you just sort of give it your all. I think really it just was, it's like doing a real estate deal. You can either focus on these types of deals over here that make, X, or if you focus on the bigger deals, you make more, and it's the same amount of work.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I'm focused on bigger deals, either hopefully I'll have more money, and then I have more flexibility and more time off, or whatever I want. I have more options.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons why I pivoted from landscaping to real estate. And I think, sometimes you just only have so much time.
Yeah, that's totally true. So you said you talked about getting started in like single family real estate. What did that look like? What was your first foray into real estate, and how did you approach that?
I was working for a company up in Seattle, Windermere Real Estate, and hey, you want to buy your house, and they make you sort of connect with your sphere of influence, and you send out letters to friends and family, and that's sort of weird in the beginning, obviously, because you're like, hey, and so I did that, and I just knew that that emotional side, it wasn't really for me, and I wasn't super passionate about it. You throw these people in there, it's hard to you have to look out for their best interests, but you want to put deals together, and at that time, in the two previous cycles, it's like, they're beating you up a little bit. They're like, oh, this other guy will buy me a TV. And, you're just like, and so I knew I was going to get into the investment side or the wholesaling side. And it's sort of a 180. It's like, I have something of value that they want and they need. So there's a mutual respect there.
Yeah.
And it's a game changer. So at least for me and my personality.
Yeah. So when you started, it was Realtor. Your relationship was that of a realtor with your clients. So how long did you do that before you started down the road of being the investor side?
Oh, probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
But I was sending out letters and stuff like that when I was an agent.
Yeah.
And sort of wholesaling.
Did you represent buyers and sellers, or were you just one side or the other? Both?
I was just whatever I can absorb and learn and get, and transactional. I wanted to get those up.
Okay. So when you 5 or 6 years later, when you said, I want to be on the investment side of this now, well, I guess first of all, this is probably a question people have. Did you continue to be an agent and do those activities, or did you just switch and said, I'm an investor now, I don't want to be an agent so much?
Well, we started, that's a good question. So we started my family started a new company, and it was me and my brother-in-law that, started out, and my family is sort of in the background, and I was, used to procuring off-market deals together and negotiating. And really, my niche was a land agent. So I was running feasibilities, looking at dirt, and then I started, feeding our pipeline for our company. And so I pretty much stopped, putting people in my car or listing homes. I think what we did do that was similar to, being an agent is when we sell investments to investors, we ask that they list with us, or we actually require it.
Okay. Cool. That's cool. So when you went to that investor side, you told me, you just said you were looking at dirt. What did the business structure look like? Were you guys just dealing in land? Were you doing development stuff? Were you building new build? Were you flipping houses? Like what were you primarily focused on as a company?
Well, so this was probably back in 2007. So the market was just crazy. There's a lot of distressed property, a lot of bank-owned property. For us, we had capital when we started out, which was very rare in that time. We were going after large, untitled, distressed development properties. So maybe they didn't have, the CC&Rs done, or maybe they didn't have all the permits signed off, or, they were new construction projects. And so we were targeting stuff by the FDIC. We would do a couple flips here or there, but, sort of what I was communicating before is the same amount of effort you can do on this. It's the same amount as a flip, but the dollars are bigger.
Yeah. So how did that business go, and has it changed since then? Like what does it look like now as opposed to what you were doing back then?
Yeah. And, real estate is sort of like a chameleon. Even where we're at now, you have to be constantly adjusting and thinking where the market's going to go.
Yeah.
So for us, that stuff was drying up. And there was probably, maybe 3 or 4 years or 5 years. And I don't remember when it dried up. But so then what we were doing was there was no new construction.
Yeah.
So we started building that pipeline of new construction product. And, and then, for faster money, we do a flip here or there. But really our ammo or our target was, single family houses and townhome projects in the core of Seattle.
Oh, really? You were building single family stuff. Okay, cool. And then was that so did that happen through the downturn in like 2008, 2009, or when did you start that part of your business?
I would say it was probably like 2011 or 12. I think a lot of the the projects that were unentitled or unfinished, those were drying up the larger ones that we were targeting.
Yeah.
Flips, they're always a dime a dozen out there. But, and so we started transitioning to the new construction to fill up that pipeline.
Gotcha. So how did you learn that new construction world? Because it's different than flipping houses. It's different than land a little bit. Like, because how the new construction single family stuff, how did you kind of cut your teeth on that? How did you learn it?
I saw that in our market, it's sort of a rule of thumb that if you sell somebody a piece of dirt, you get the listing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like a multiplier. I mean, you can get paid on the front, which maybe the acquisition is 500, and a new construction of $1 million, so you get 3% on that. And I'm like, that's where it's at. That's the sort of time and energy, and then also it's sort of a double whammy that feeds our pipeline. But I think it's really just trial and error. You go out and you try to sell some. You're like, hey, I got this zoning, and they're like, well, what's the size? And you're like, oh, it's this. Well, what's the length and width? It's this. And you sort of start getting a pattern of like, hey, I got this zoning and it's 50 by 100. I think we can put, and you just start, doing those types of things. And then you grab an architect and they sort of, you're not going to know everything, but you surround yourself with some people that are smarter than you and they answer your questions, and then you can sort of feed the end result to, your end buyer or us.
Did you have struggles with contractors?
As far as like lien releases or
more like showing up, doing the work, the quality of the work.
Not really. I think, like if we would have changed our model from like, because we can use the same subs from the broken new construction projects and roll them over to new construction.
Sure.
But if we were going to build an apartment building, we couldn't use those same subs. So that's a different relationship.
Sure.
We can't even use our new construction subs on like a flip because they're just not really into that.
Yeah.
And so it's really all about that relationship. So our relationships, our model never changed.
Gotcha.
But I think it would have.
Yeah, totally. So you changed your model in around 2011. I get that. It's 2020 now. We're kind of heading into some changes that are probably going to take place. What does your business look like today, like right now, or over the last 12 months? What kind of a business are you running, and what are your plans going forward? How do you plan on pivoting or addressing the market as we see it coming?
Well, I think that, my sales team was, targeting new construction sites or townhome sites or whatnot. And what happens is those don't get paid out for sometimes 6 months or 9 months or whatnot. And in 2018 in June, in the Seattle market, even though it's a strong market, everything sort of came to a screeching halt for about 6 months. And so I'm like, hey, we need cash flow, we need deals. And actually, that's when I joined the group with you guys, because I'm like, I thought I was better than I am, but I was like, my systems and processes aren't really as good as I thought. And we wholesale flips and whatnot before, but what we did with, when talking to you guys is we sort of ramped that up a little bit more to fill in the gaps, fill in the cash flow, potentially do some lending on that on those types of deals.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I had a follow-up question, but why don't you finish?
Yeah. No. So right now, we're still targeting our core business, which is, single family, new construction or townhome sites, because that just sort of feeds us. That creates the wealth. The deals just sort of pay the bills. And we're still going after single family flips and stuff like that. And we're wholesaling all of those different types of projects.
Okay. So you brought up the 7-figure group. You joined that a few years back. Just out of curiosity, because we haven't really sat down and specifically talked about this ever, I don't think, in great detail. But what you had extensive experience in the industry for sure. What did you pull out of that group? Like, what was the benefit to you of the group when you joined and had some time in there and exposure to folks?
Well, I joined that group just because it was nobody that I knew. I wanted transparency, so there was nobody in my market.
Yeah,
and I felt like I could take the model that everybody else had in there and apply it to dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, and it's paid for itself a lot. And it's just really the systems and process, moving forward, getting a little bit better, working on something, but it's paid off tremendously.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had the same experience. I had been in real estate for quite some time before I joined the group back in 2015. And I wanted the same thing. I wanted to hear what people had to say who had businesses that I didn't have, or maybe bigger businesses, or they had the systems and processes. And it was from, I knew, like, it's hard sometimes in your local market when you go to a RIA and you collaborate with someone or talk to someone who's in the same business, like, how much are they really going to give you? Like, most people will not just like show you exactly what they're doing, which is fine. But sometimes it's helpful to be in a group of folks that just don't care. They're not they're not in your market, so they couldn't care less. They want you to succeed, obviously.
Well, it's different too. I mean, depending on where everybody's business is at.
Yep.
There's different challenges that they have. It was interesting because when I came into the group, I went backwards where, from the ground up, where I wanted to revamp everything on the systems and process. But, there's other conversations that, as far as cash flow, P&Ls, how I look at multiple entities, I was already experienced with that where I could add some value.
Yeah, that's huge too. You're right. You're exactly right. It's not necessarily what all you can take, but you brought stuff to the table that other people needed. And it's just a good situation. I've talked about seven-figure flipping quite a few times on the show. So this isn't necessarily an ad for that at all. It just comes up because that's how we met and it's how I know you. But definitely something people should consider is getting into a group or surrounding yourself with people who are ahead of you in business, a little behind you in business, people you can help. Sometimes helping people helps reinforce what you already know and kind of, makes you realize some of the things that maybe that you're not doing as well as you used to do potentially. But just plugging into that network of folks that are interested in helping and have the accountability.
I mean, if you think about it, you join one of these groups or accountability coach or whatever. I think the group is different than accountability coach. But, it will pay for itself out of one or two deals real quick. And you'll realize that, and it's also about failing fast. I mean, I've never really had another job outside of work for myself. And so, the amount of time and energy it takes to fail and go backwards and learn, I mean, it takes a long time, And so if you can surround yourself with folks that have already done it and basically replicate what they're doing, I mean, that's not an ego thing. That's a smart business decision.
Totally. Yeah. Sometimes people think you have to like reinvent things, or you have to, you can be so successful being the least creative person in the room just by taking what other people are doing that's working and just applying it the way that they applied it. Like don't try to change the recipe. If the recipe works, use it. And if you apply it and it doesn't work as well, then change it for sure. But I always say it, but using other people's hindsight as your foresight is one of the most powerful strategies in business. Just let other people tell you what they found and just apply that, right? People always say hindsight's 20/20. If I could go back with what I know now, I could really crush it. But it's like, you can't go back, but just go to someone who's already been where you are and walk that path. So I love it, man. I love it. Listen, I don't want to keep you super, super long today. I definitely wanted to get you on and hear your story. What do you have going on? Like, what's the plan going forward? We're potentially, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't know if you believe this. I personally believe that the market is going to go down in terms of like the value of real estate for a number of reasons. But if and when that does happen, or maybe you don't think that's going to happen, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you're positioning yourself and your company for the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, I think that, it's interesting as, when I was sort of jotting some notes down about what I want to talk about, but, as you're ramping through these cycles and you get more successful, it's, one of the things I learned, not in this last cycle, but the previous cycle is just because you're making money doesn't mean you have to spend it.
Yeah.
And that's a big, big deal for right now. And so we were just sort of hoarding cash for a long time. So we're in a great cash position to either weather the storm or buy properties, whatever that looks like. We have that option, and we're not stressed out about stuff. I think that we've looked at who's on our team and our expenses, and And when you're ramping up also, there's a lot of wasted things that you really don't need.
Yeah.
That really, I mean, as I was going through these struggles, and I'm still struggling right now, I'm like, do I need that? And you really don't know. I just went back to my core business, and now I'm kicking butt again. I've evaluated if there's a return on employees, and some of them we had to go in a different direction with. But I've cut my spending probably, 10 to 15%, and really it's not really affecting my business.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing about times like this that do for you is you figure out how to do the same with less. And then you realize, why did I even have that? Like we did the same thing. We kind of modified our personnel a little bit. Fancy way of saying we let some folks kind of move on. But you realize you were a little bloated in some areas. So I think that's totally legitimate. And some people look at that as like, oh, we had to cut back. Sometimes cutbacks are okay because they teach you how to be more efficient and a little more lean. And there's nothing wrong with being lean. I think that sometimes people get a little bit, too fat because they equate number of employees to success, right? And it's just not. I would rather brag. I would rather make $1 million with 5 employees than make $1 million with 10, right? It seems like simple math, but some people like the thought of being able to say they have 10 employees but whatever. It's just not, it's not necessary. And I think we learned that in these times. Listen, man, I don't know if if I'm going to be seeing you in the next few months or not. We don't even know what's happening with the next few months in terms of being able to see people, but I hope to see you soon, man. I appreciate you doing this. You're a good guy to get on here, and you have nothing to plug. This isn't like you're trying to sell something. So you just did it because we know each other, and you were willing to come on here and talk about yourself and your business and some of the things that you learned. So thanks for doing that. I loved having you on. I appreciate you doing this, man.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. And, if I can always help out, let me know.
I will do that, man. Thanks. We'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yep.
All right, guys, hopefully that was as fun for you as it was for me. Bentley's a good dude. Got to know him pretty well over the last few years and watch his growth of his company. And I thought he would be a really good guest to have on. Started off, he's never worked for anybody else, like he said. So it's a little different than some folks. Some of us have these 9-to-5 jobs that we hate for a number of years before we dive into it. He's been doing it since day one. He's been out there grinding, hustling, and growing a business and learning how to be a successful entrepreneur for basically his whole life. And it all started with that first project in high school that he had to do, and went the realtor route for a while, which a lot of us do, and then dove into the investment side. So it was a fun journey. It's been fun watching him grow and learn and contribute to the 7-figure flipping community. If that's something you guys are interested in, we didn't really talk a ton about it, a little bit at the end. But if 7-figure flipping, if being part of a mastermind is something that you think you would benefit from or you want more information, you can always shoot me a message at mike@juststartrealestate.com, and we can chat about it and see if it's a good fit for you. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Get out there and get started. Bentley has been hustling and grinding, like I said, his whole life. Trust me, if I would have asked him, he would have told me nothing happens until you take action. So get out there and take action. Make today the best day of the year so far. All right, guys, we'll talk to you next time.